What is going on? This is Tyler Smith with Intrinsecus. Glad to be back for episode 19. You may hear something completely different, and that is better audio quality. So I tried to change up my office studio a little bit. My desk was not arranged in the same way after I did a long trip last year. As you guys can see, I took a long break from podcasting or attempting to podcast. And so I thought the microphone's just in a bad corner, the bad acoustics. Nope. To find out, I have a very destructive puppy that likes to chew on cables, and just my microphone cable is messed up. You may hear some huffing and puffing and panting in the background. That's because I got both dogs in the room with me. They want to be lovey-dovey with Dad today. So for the next 30-ish minutes, you may hear that noise. So if you do, I apologize. So kind of up front, I made a Twitter account. So I kind of made one last year and I never really used it. And that's because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I just didn't know what I was doing. Like, I know that you need digital marketing. I know that you need digital engagement. And you need to do all these things. But like, I'm kind of like in my personal side, I'm kind of in the cyberspace. So I understand how social media works. I understand algorithms. I understand social engineering. And like, I just didn't feel comfortable putting all these apps on my phone or like being tied to my laptop. Like, it's bad enough for work. I'm on a computer, but then when I'm trying to create my own side gig, now I'm tied to my phone, tied to everything. And oh, here come the dogs. Oh, they're just okay. They're just gonna do okay. As if I had a camera, you would see the most annoying thing right now. So with that being said, I just didn't really want all the apps on it, and I didn't want to be addicted to my phone. But I was like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I got to do it right. So I made a Twitter. I actually got a couple more views. Episode 18 with the absolute disgusting audio. I got a few more subscribers. Like, that was crazy. Like, just making a Twitter and engaging with people. My Twitter is what is the Twitter name? Let me look it up. I made it, and I don't even know what the Twitter's called. Let's see what we have here. My Twitter account is called. So if you look it up, it's at Intrinsecus Hulk. Hulk. That's HOC. So inside this. So Hulk is like kind of is Latin for this. Inside this, and then the name's Tyler Smith. So with that being said, I was listening to another podcast, and I don't want to be a reaction channel. That's not what I want to be. That's not what I really want to do. But I was listening to, let's see, where is it at? I had it, the Patrick Bet-David podcast, so PBD podcast. So shout out to Patrick Bet-David and everything he's doing. And he had an interview with Dennis Prager, having a conversation. And Prager said, Patrick Bet-David brought up, how do you think the secular ideology is spreading? And Dennis Prager said, I really don't know, but I just know that it is. And I'm condensing a lot of this stuff. And once I get my podcast situation up to speed more and more professional, I can play YouTube clips and, inside these things. You can hear them firsthand. But in this very low grade setting I have right now, just condensing, he's pretty much said that academia is the worst. It's kind of where this is going. But other than that, I don't know what's making it spread. Now, I've heard countless other people on the right. Oh, no, can you back it up? Heard countless other people in the center left, center right, moderate, soft conservative, conventional conservative. They also like, we don't know how this is happening. Like, we look around and this is crazy. Like, it's spreading everywhere. And it's really simple. It's called colleges, right? Like Dennis Prager said it, is like academia is bad. Academia is causing this, right? Well, then people say, I don't know how this is spreading, because these older people think that because they are the pillars and the I-frames and the I-beams of society, that the way they live will not be challenged. And so the point of this episode today is called The Seed. And I'm going to use outside experiences and examples, and then bring it back into the intrinsic part where it's like inside of you. So what we see right now culturally is the seed sprouting and now taking root and now growing a tree. Again, now we can talk about historics. We can talk about the Soviets again. This is a lot of this will be a kind of a bleed over from last episode. We can talk about the Soviets coming over. We can talk about all the money China and the CCPs dumping into American academia. We can talk about all these things. Sure, yes, we can. We can talk about who the farmer was that planted the seed in the ground. But at the end of the day, we have a seed of secularism. Not saying it's good or bad. I'm just giving an example of how Dennis Prager and a lot of people center and right of center kind of see this issue. And they always say, we don't know how this is happening. This is crazy. Like, how did it get here? Again, I'm not saying that this is good. I'm not saying this is bad. I'm using an example of how a seed can sprout, and before you know it, your own culture does not know what is going on. Okay, so outside the farmer, outside the gardener who's planting the seed, right? Again, I'm pretty sure a lot of my listeners, all six of you guys, some of you guys may look at history and be like, well, Tyler, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, it's these people who are at fault. We're not having that type of conversation. Trust me, this podcast will get there eventually with history and geopolitics and what it means for you to be a person inside this crazy, chaotic world. We will get there. Bear with me. So, the seed of this is, in academia, we have a seed, right? In secularism, right? You don't need God. Do it thy will. You can do bad all by yourself. All those things are the tenets of what they believe in, right? But how does it spread? Simply, hey, there's some professors who aren't Christian. They don't believe in anything Christians believe, and now they're professors. And every year they can teach 200 kids. And that's one professor per university is 200 kids. And let's say there's 100 universities, which I'm pretty sure there are. What's 200 times 100? Add 2 zeros. What is that, 20,000? If I'm doing math right. So 200, that's 2 zeros, add another 2 zeros. Yeah, 20,000. So it's 20,000 people right there, right? So one teacher per 100, one teacher per 200 kids in 100 universities, 20,000 kids. Multiply that by, 40, 50 years, right? And we see this is coming in, right? So the seed is a secularism, right? Now let's talk about the water. What is the water and what is the nutrients? And what is the environment for this to grow? So first, let's kind of talk about the environment. If you look at the Judeo-Christian belief, right, it takes a village to raise a child. There is a lot of family structure around a child and the growth of a child, right? Okay. Again, I don't want to get good or bad. We will get into good and bad and indifferent in future episodes. But so the environment that this can spread in is the void of Judeo-Christianity. It's the absence of it. And because we have an environment of two-parent income household, two-parent income, whatever. Both parents are working in the household. And also Patrick Bet-David put out an episode of Fatherless Homes where I want to say it was 23% of kids don't have a father in the home. 80% of single parent homes. Okay, back up. I think it's 23% of kids have single parent homes. Of that 23%, 80% of that is without fathers. It's only single mothers, right? And it's a breakdown of all these things, right? So what we see now, factually, what we see right now is that you have two-parent income households, or you have single-parent households, and the mother or father is working extremely hard. Okay, that child is now given to the state either via school or other social programs, or is in sports or anything else, right? So either the school is watching them, or they're in some other social program, but via the state or sports. That's not, that's not that's not controlled by the state, or they're being watched by the television, right? Right. My grandfather used to say, "I'm not watching TV. The TV's watching me," because he would always fall asleep. Right. So the TV and mass media is watching them. So what we have, the environment, the soil, right? The soil that the seed is planted in of secularism, right? Of, you don't need God, you don't need Jesus, you don't need Abraham, Abrahamic religions, you don't need Allah, you don't need Yahweh, you don't need whatever it is. We can spread this out. You don't need Hindu, you don't need Buddhism, you don't need any of these things, right? You're a sack of meat flesh walking on earth. That's 1 in a trillion, whatever the statistics are for the Earth, for planet Earth. that so it happens to be perfectly distanced from the sun that doesn't burn up or too far where it just freezes, right? Cool, you're just a meat sack. Fine, whatever. But that's the environment, right? So, leveling our definitions and everything. The environment that this is being placed in is fatherless homes or motherless homes, single parent households, or households where two parents are working. The state's watching them, or TV's watching them. Okay, fertilizer. What is the fertilizer? Now the fertilizer is going to be social media, right? So not only is the TV or the phones watching them in the environment, right? Because sometimes you can go to Home Depot and get soil with fertilizer mixed in. So that little bit of extra, urea or whatever nitric, whatever else goes into gardening, fertilizing soil stuff. That extra spark of energy is going to be what's being pushed through mass media, preferably being TikTok, and short release videos, so TikTok, YouTube Shorts, things like that, right? Okay, another element of that fertilizer is going to be algorithm. So once your child or a child is stuck in this algorithm, they are immediately put into an echo chamber, right? Because once you're in an echo chamber, you have higher screen retention. When you have higher screen retention, more ads can be placed. That means you're going to Sephora, you're going to Amazon, you're going to X Factor, you're going or Factor, whatever that meal prep company is called. You're going to name your freaking favorite store that you're buying stuff from. Okay, understood. So that's the extra kick. So not only are they in this environment, now they have social media that puts them in the echo chamber. So not only are they getting the same politics over and 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 over again, they're being put in that echo chamber to also force ads. Now with these ads being forced down them, these people who have graduated college of the last generation and are now in these companies are now pushing that same secular ideology. This is how this spreads, right? And trust me, and we're going to tie this into intrinsic stuff in a minute. But this is what's happening right now. So when people say we don't know how this is happening, this is how it's happening. You have people, graduating college in the '90s and early 2000s. They're a little bit woke, right, or whatever they want to call themselves, social justice warriors, right? And now they get into these environments where there's a lot of boomers, a lot of Gen X, I don't know, millennials, whatever. Boomers and the greatest generation, those people, right? So they, in the '90s, early 2000s, they don't have that many numbers, right? Because obviously they're kind of like the first couple generations. The '80s and '90s is the first generation where these kind of woke people are coming out. Okay, well then those older people retire, and a new class of college graduates start applying for jobs, and then they get hired. And the next couple of years, more of those old heads retire. They're like, hey, time for me to go golfing. For me to go on my island. Time for me to go to my cabin. Peace out, Girl Scout. And then another classic college graduates come in. And through this, fast forward 30, 40 years, we have a situation now where your current CEOs, all they care about is their fiduciary duty and making money. And they're like, well, whatever you youngins say is the way to make money, let's make money because I don't want to get sued because I have fiduciary duty. And then now majority of the working labor force that's graduating from college is woke or social justice warriors, and they can push this into their advertisements. So let's bring it back to the kid. Two parents outside the house, they can't take care of the kid. They can't mentor and train the kid and teach the kid. The state is now flooded with people who graduate college because for whatever reason, our government has said that you need a college degree to be successful. And again, if you hear panting in the background, the dog is right next to me. I apologize. But the government said, hey, if you want to be a teacher, you got to have a teaching degree. So now you have all these kids who are forced to go to college to be teachers. Now they're woke. Now they're teaching your kids. They're teaching your kids what they know, which is bias, right? So they have a bias. Put a pin in that for later on for a conversation we're having a little bit. They have a bias because they went to college and they were taught woke. So they're gonna tell your kids to go to college and go be woke because that's what they know. That's their bias. Put a pin in that. We'll talk about that later. That kid goes home. Mom's not there. Dad's not there. On their phone, stuck in their echo chamber. Sephora, Ulta, whatever pops up. Now they got more woke stuff. So now what is being taught at school is being reinforced on their phones, being reinforced on their laptops, being reinforced on Hulu, Netflix, whatever. So to all these right people on the right, these centrist moderates, whatever you want to call yourselves, Whenever you keep saying we don't know how this is happening, how did it get this way? It's called numbers, and it's called all the old heads are retiring, and all the new people coming in. Eventually, is going to tilt the scales in the other way, and people will have a bias. So now that seed is now into a freaking oak tree or a pear tree or an apple tree, and it's just dropping fruit. And then people will come along like, ooh, this fruit tastes good. And they're eating it, not knowing that if they eat too much of it, they're going to get cavities and their teeth are going to fall out, right? So that was a rant because that's one of my biggest pet peeves is when I hear Dennis Prager, who's a smart person, when I hear these people say, I don't know how this happened. I don't know why we got here. I was like, I don't know. Maybe because there's less fathers in the home, more single mothers in the home. Not only are there single mothers and less single fathers in the house, not saying single parents are wrong, they also got to work. So when they're working, bye Jimmy, bye David, bye Sean, bye Sally, bye Keisha, whatever. Bye Felicia. Right? I gotta go to work and I'm gonna come home late and now I'm stuck in traffic and da 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 da. Okay. So what I just explained to you is critical thinking, right? Piggyback off last episode. How does this happen, right? It's a seed, the seed's planted, and people do not know how to get out of their own chambers. They don't know how to get out of their own, okay, chamber's the wrong word. They don't know how to get outside the greenhouse they're trapped in, right? Okay, so if you hear licking and stuff in the background, I'm so sorry. These dogs, they just want to be right next to me as I'm recording. Oh, I can't wait to have my camera set up. By the way, my camera setup is going to be dope, guys. So check it out. Check this out. This is what's going to happen, right? So I'm going to have the camera set up, right? Listen. Going to be great. Listen. And then because Tyler Smith doesn't show his face, because I want you to have my ideas, not my face. I'm not, when I do start monetizing and having a website and I grow to that size, I want to sell my ideas and my words, not my face, not my image. So I'm gonna have this cool kind of like silhouette thing. I'm gonna have a mask on, and then has some white gloves, all like kind of super spooky type stuff. And then the people I'm interviewing, they'll be illuminated, and then it'll be kind of like that. So it'll be kind of like them speaking to a shadow, and then the kind of theme of the podcast would be like so and so speaking to a shadow of themselves, right? And it would be me battling and challenging their ideas. With everything they're doing, me being their shadow. So, yeah. So now let's kind of bring it back home, right? Intrinsic, right? Intrinsecus, inside. Intrinsecus voltus, inside face. Okay, Tyler. What does this mean to me? Why do I care? Why do I care? This is why you care. No how I said bias. You want to put a pin in that, and I want to bring back social media. What you put inside of you is a seed. What you do today is a seed. Now, what seed you water is the actual important part, right? So if you read the Bible, you're putting seeds inside of you. But if you go out and you watch, I don't know, a Jeffrey Dahmer thing, you're putting that seed inside you as well. And subconsciously, your brain is saying which seed to water, which one not to water, which one to give food, not to feed. Now, this analogy I'm going to bring up is going to sound extremely familiar to the two wolves inside you thing. You know, you have a one good wolf, one bad wolf, and the one that wins is the one you feed. Right? It's going to sound really similar to that, but bear with me. A lot of people, they get through life, and they get to somewhere, and they say, how did I get here? Why am I here? What have I done to lead me to this point? And what I want to bring up is there's always seeds being thrown at you, right? There's dandelion seeds, or however those freaking the little white things you blow on and they spread everywhere, however that works. There's mold spores in the air. There's always something in the air that wants to grow, right? Squirrels will eat stuff. They drop seeds on the ground. They plant seeds and they forget about it. Trees come up, right? There's always something being thrown at you. It's always in the form of information. Information is always the seed. And sometimes it can be a big seed of ideology, right? You could walk past, you could have a Jehovah's Witness come to your door, right? They're planting a seed. Now, if you water it, that's up to you. If you give it fertilizer and plant food, that's up to you, right? If you haven't been to church in a while and you go to church, you're replanting that seed, right? When you're watching TikTok and you're seeing woke stuff, boom, boom, boom. Those are seeds. You go to Twitter, and let's say on your Twitter you follow gun stuff, and there's a whole bunch of pictures of magazines and other stuff going through your Twitter feed. Those are seeds being planted. Now, some people water and fertilize the seed, and they end up buying a weapon system, right? Some people will Some people will water and fertilizer the seed of a new car or whatever. So what I want to bring up is that you guys need to be extremely careful with what you guys are watering and fertilizing, and understand that you can't stop the seeds. You can by living in a cabin in West Virginia or in, I don't know, the Amazon rainforest and not having any social media. Sure, but even then you're planting seeds and you're watering and fertilizing the seeds of isolation, right? So everything you do is planting a seed. Back up. Everything you're around is planting seeds, and it's up to you what you water and fertilize. Sorry, I mixed that up. And this is really important because once you start watering and fertilizing and feeding that seed, it's eventually going to grow into a tree, a berry bush, a berry vine, whatever it's going to grow into, a pawpaw tree if you're from the West Virginia, Maryland area. It's going to happen, and you can't stop it. You just can't. But, big but, big but, you can always chop it down. You can't stop the growing, but you can chop it down. Right? Like, and it's going to sound confusing. Let me explain. Once it starts growing, you can't stop it, right? You can't stop photosynthesis. All you can do is remove the plant's ability to do photosynthesis. I think that makes better sense, right? You can't stop the physical nature of what I'm trying to say is things are addictive, right? Like once you start doing a drug and you're addicted, you're hooked, and you can't stop that addiction. But what you can do is remove the ability for you to feel that addiction. And I feel like that's going to be really confusing. You guys are going to sleep on it and wake up and be like, okay, I see what he means. Here nor there. Something else I want to bring up is whatever you do decide to grow, is eventually going to start bearing fruit. And those fruit are going to drop seeds. And the seeds that from you are going to hit friends, hit family, your offspring, your dogs that are so annoying when you're trying to record a podcast episode, which is why I might be stumbling, but I'm already like 30 minutes into this. So you're going to hear some disjointed sentences like, what is he trying to say? And it's because I'm trying to not get distracted by these dogs so I don't have to re-record a 30-minute episode. So bear with me, please. Because I have a fluff ball that thinks he's so cute. But those fruits are going to drop seeds on your children. They're going to drop seeds on your friends. And then your children have the opportunity to water and fertilize those things. Your friends have them as well. And this is why this is how it's going to tie back into the story about the conservatives and how they feel. When a parent has a strong tree of whatever it is, right? Again, I'm not here to say what's right, what's wrong. Trust me, I will have people and guests on in the future, and we'll go down into it. You'll kind of hear more of my personal beliefs later on in future episodes once I get my act together. But it is so important to understand that you as a parent or parents, when you have strong trees, you're going to drop seeds on your children. And it's better for you to overseed your child than it is for the state, for TikTok, for Instagram, for YouTube Shorts to do it. And this is why it irritates me when people say these things. Like, I don't know why it's happening. It's because parents are not overseeding their kids. You'll see people in their backyards overseed their backyards in the springtime. Well, really the fall time. So, okay, I'm not going to get into grass stuff right now. But those people who overseed their grass, but they won't overseed their children. People will overseed their need for a new rim package on their car, but they won't overseed their children. And then they wonder why their kid's 19 years old and goes, I hate you. So to be truly intrinsic, you have to be mindful of the seeds that are around you. And once seeds start growing, like, hey, they're growing. The only thing you can do is just remove the seed and the stem and everything else. Because you can't stop the photosynthesis. So as long as, okay, I think it explains better. As long as you keep the seed by you, it's going to grow. I'm sorry, right? Like as long as you keep a drug, the booger sugar in your life, you're going to keep wanting it. Nicotine, as long as you keep the nicotine in your life, you're going to want it, and that seed is going to grow. You just got to get rid of it. You can't stop the growing because if you keep the thing by you, it's going to continue to grow, right? You can't. There's no one can control their smoke because if they smoke, they're addicted. Like I'm sorry, it has you, right? It's a vine. It's going to choke you up. So be mindful of the seeds around you because once the bad seeds start growing, right, you can walk by a cigarette ad, right, and it's going to plop seeds on you, but they don't need to start growing. Your friends can smoke cigarettes, but just because they're smoking cigarettes doesn't mean that you need to go smoke cigarettes, right? You just keep walking. But the minute you start smoking a cigarette, 1, 2, 3, 10, 100, boom, now it's growing, right? So be mindful of the seeds that are around you because eventually there's going to be a tree in you. Right, wrong, or indifferent, we can get to that in the future, but eventually there's going to be a tree. There's going to be a tree, and you might want to have children, or you might be a godfather, a godmother, a whatever, an uncle, the best friend whose kid calls you uncle. I don't freaking know, whatever, and you're going to be dropping seeds. And who are you going to be to pass on the mindset of being intrinsically motivated? Are you going to overseed a child so that way whatever seed grows in them, they themselves can become intrinsically motivated so they're not tempted and motivated by the world around them? Because we have too many kids right now, good, bad, or indifferent, left, right, north, south, east, west, whatever, all over the political spectrum, who are looking for meaning and they're looking for acceptance and they're looking for the serotonin, the dopamine, looking for all these things. And they're constantly looking for outwardly, what's it called? An outward expression. Let me back up. An outward confirmation of their validation here. Outward confirmation and their validation. Instead of them doing it themselves, because they did not have good grandmothers, grandfathers, parents, whatever, to oversee them and to teach them what it means to be independent, strong-minded, have critical thought, creative thought, to understand bias. Now let's bring that bias back in, right? I said earlier, teachers are going to have their bias and they're going to show what they want to show. Everyone has a bias, so it's going to take that pen out. Let's tackle that right now. Everyone has a bias. What is yours? Right? It's a way of life. It's the way we think, right? We're imperfect creatures and our brains are extremely powerful, but they're also not powerful at the same time, right? Our brain takes in massive amounts of sensory data and makes a grand assumption it makes a grand assumption to give you the best chances of survival, right? And sometimes it's wrong, and sometimes it's right. So everyone has a bias, right? Everyone makes assumptions. What is your bias? What are you teaching your child, your friends, or even your grandparents? Right? Because while the teachers are saying, I think I know better because I went to school, I have a master's degree, I have this, they taught me this, therefore, because I'm living off government money, which is just taxpayer money, I know it's better for your child. Well, they have a bias because they went to school. What is your bias? First, understand it so you can know how to teach your child what a bias is so they can discern the world around them. But also you need to understand your bias so you know what seeds not to drop on people, right? Because if you've been through a messed up situation, or let's say you did go to college and you were $60,000, $70,000 in debt or $80,000 in debt and you're trying to climb your way out and you don't know what to do right now, you need to chuck that bias of school is better. Because guess what, honey? It's not if you're $80,000 in debt, right? So this is where it's really important to understand what's around you, what are you putting inside of you, what are you allowing you to grow. If something is growing, you can't stop it, because the more you keep it close to you, the more energy you're giving it. You have to get rid of it. And then understanding that no matter what you do, you're going to have a situation where you're going to start dropping seeds on other people. And what do you want that to be? And I'm going to leave it there. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. It's going on YouTube. It's going on Rumble. I'm going to talk about it on Twitter. I'm eventually going to get it Instagram. I'm going to get all these crazy cool things, and it's going to be awesome. But other than that, right now, this is Tyler Smith with Intrinsecus signing off.